If Shedeur wins camp and still doesn't start, then it was never a competition. Training camp tells the truth. Shedeur Sanders just signed a $50 million deal that the NFL didn't authorize, can't control, and legally cannot stop. And Roger Goodell is about to find out that the league's monopoly on player income just died. But before we get into the emergency owner meeting where Jerry Jones tried to ban these deals permanently, you need to understand the actual loophole Shedeur exploited, because it's brilliant. It's legal, and it proves something the NFL has been terrified of for years. And the reason Shedeur chose his birthday to announce that timing, the NFL establishment told Shedeur Sanders to prove it first. Big name, big brand. But was the football real? Then Saudi Arabia's PIF stepped in with a global partnership that stunned the sports business world. Overnight, Sanders became one of the most commercially powerful young athletes alive. And every old clip questioning him. The Saudi PIF just shut down every NFL team in one move. And Shedeur Sanders is the reason why. The most powerful sovereign wealth fund on the planet, the same money behind LIV Golf, the same financial force that rewrote the rules of global sports, just confirmed publicly that Shedeur Sanders is the NFL quarterback of the future. Every front office that passed on him, every reporter that ran anonymous source campaigns against him, every executive that let him fall to the 5th round, they all just got the most expensive wake-up call in sports history. And the story behind how this happened, nobody was ready for it. He thought no individual player could go around the league and make their own deal. He was wrong. Because while the NFL was playing politics and moving slow, Shedeur Sanders' team identified something in his rookie contract that nobody else noticed. A prime equity clause that allows players to secure international brand ambassadorships independently of league partnerships. Most rookies don't even know this clause exists. Most agents don't think to exploit it, but Shedeur is not most rookies, and his representation isn't playing by the old rules. Alright, before we get into the full picture, let me set the scene for you properly. Because if you don't understand the scale of what the Saudi Public Investment Fund actually is, you are going to underestimate how significant this confirmation about Shedeur Sanders really is. And underestimating this would be a mistake, a massive one. The Saudi PIF is not a sports agency. It is not a talent management firm. It is not a marketing company looking to attach itself to a rising athlete for brand exposure. The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia manages over $700 billion in assets. $700 billion. That number is so large it barely processes as a real figure. This is the entity that fundamentally transformed professional golf overnight when they launched LIV. This is the money that turned the Saudi Pro League into a destination for some of the biggest names in world football. This is the financial power that has made every major sports league on the planet sit up straighter and pay closer attention whenever their name gets mentioned in connection with anything. When the Saudi PIF confirms something publicly, it does not confirm it casually. It does not confirm things for content. It confirms things because it has done its evaluation. It has done its due diligence, and it has reached a conclusion it is prepared to stand behind at the highest possible level. In what they just stood behind publicly on the record in front of cameras is Shedeur Sanders as the NFL quarterback of the future. Let that land for a second. Not a promising young player, not an interesting developmental prospect, not a 5th-round pick who might be worth watching. The quarterback of the future of the quarterback position in the most valuable sports league on the planet. That is the specific, deliberate, unambiguous language that came out of conversations connected to the Saudi PIF regarding Shedeur Sanders. And when an entity with that kind of financial credibility uses that kind of specific language, every NFL front office in the league has to sit in a room and ask themselves a very uncomfortable question. Did we get this wrong? The answer for the teams that passed on Shedeur in those first 4 rounds, for the organizations that let anonymous source campaigns shape their evaluation, for the executives who convinced themselves that the noise around his name reflected something real about his football ability, is yes, they got it catastrophically wrong. And now the most financially powerful sports investment entity in the world is making sure everyone knows it. And suddenly the NFL's leverage over player income disappears. Suddenly threatening to fine someone or withhold bonuses means nothing when they're making more from international deals than their NFL salary. This is a power shift, and the league knows it. But here's what makes this even more perfect. The timing. Shedeur announced this deal on his birthday. The same birthday where he threw a private party in Canton, Texas with fireworks and exclusive access. You think that's coincidence? You think he just happened to drop this bombshell on the day he was celebrating? Now, here's where the story gets even deeper, because the Saudi PIF's interest in Shedeur Sanders did not come out of nowhere. This did not happen because someone in Riyadh randomly watched a Browns game and decided they liked what they saw. This came at the end of a comprehensive evaluation process. The kind of process that organizations with hundreds of billions of dollars at their disposal conduct before they attach their name to anything. They looked at the tape. They looked at the draft process. They looked at the circumstances of the rookie season, the offensive line situation, the lack of weapons, the media environment in Cleveland, and they evaluated all of it with the cold analytical clarity that you develop when your job is to make billion-dollar decisions that cannot be undone. And their conclusion was that Shedeur Sanders had been systematically undervalued, that the fifth-round draft position was not a reflection of his actual talent level, but a reflection of a process that had been compromised by factors that had nothing to do with football. That the rookie season statistics needed to be contextualized within one of the most hostile environments any young quarterback has been placed in at the professional level. And that the player who emerged from all of that, still standing, still developing, still demonstrating the pocket presence and processing speed and football intelligence that made him a generational prospect in college, was not just a good investment. He was the best investment available at the quarterback position in the entire NFL landscape right now. $700 billion of financial credibility. Just said that out loud on the record. Hold on, because here is where every NFL team that passed on Shedeur in the draft needs to feel this fully. The teams picking in the top 4 of that draft had every opportunity to select Shedeur Sanders. The valuations were available. The tape was there. The college production was historically significant. The physical tools, the arm, the footwork, the pocket mobility, the ability to process multiple levels of the field simultaneously were all visible to anyone who watched him play. And yet pick after pick went by. The quarterbacks with less college production, less demonstrated football intelligence, less verified ability to perform under the kind of pressure Shedeur faced at Colorado went ahead of him. And Shedeur fell and fell and fell all the way to pick 144 in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns, who now, by the way, are quietly the most fortunate franchise in the NFL because they stumbled into a situation that the Saudi PIF just publicly declared is as valuable as anything in the sport. This was Shedeur sending a message to everyone who doubted him during the draft. You tried to humble me. You made me wait. You questioned my worth. And while you were playing games, I built an empire you can't touch. And that empire is exactly what has NFL executives losing sleep at night, because Shedeur Sanders walked into the league already making more money than half the veteran players on his team. Nike endorsement, Gatorade deal, nil portfolio that was generating millions before he took a professional snap. The teams that passed, they have to live with that. And now they have to live with it while the most sophisticated financial evaluators in global sports history are telling the world they made the wrong call. But let's talk about what this Saudi PIF confirmation actually means for Shedeur's immediate future, because this is where the story gets genuinely exciting for everyone who has been in his corner since before draft night. The leverage that this kind of external validation creates for a player in Shedeur's position is unlike anything most NFL observers have seen applied to a young quarterback at this stage of his career. He is not yet a proven starter. He has not yet played a full season as the unambiguous number 1. He is heading into year 2 of his professional career with a rebuilt offensive line, an organization that is publicly trending toward giving him a legitimate shot at the starting job, and now the most powerful sovereign wealth fund on the planet. Publicly confirming what his supporters have been saying for 2 years, the negotiating position that creates for his representation, for his brand partnerships, for every conversation about his long-term future in the league is extraordinary. You do not enter those conversations as a 5th-round pick trying to prove yourself anymore. You enter them at the player the Saudi PIF just called the quarterback of the future. Those are 2 very different rooms to walk into. And for the Cleveland Browns specifically, the organization that holds his rights, the franchise that is currently deciding how much commitment to make to Shedeur's development and long-term future, this external validation from the Saudi PIF is not something they can ignore or minimize. When the conversation about your quarterback is happening at that level of global financial interest, when the names and resources attached to his future extend far beyond the NFL ecosystem, the calculation about how to treat him, how to develop him, how to protect and invest in him changes completely. You are no longer making a decision about a fifth-round rookie. You are making a decision about a global sports asset that one of the most powerful investment entities in the world has publicly staked its credibility on. That is a different conversation, and Cleveland knows it. What has NFL executives losing sleep at night because Shedeur Sanders walked into the league already making more money than half the veteran players on his team? Nike endorsement, Gatorade deal, nil portfolio that was generating millions before he took a professional snap. The traditional power structure says rookies are supposed to be broke and desperate. They're supposed to need the NFL. They're supposed to be grateful for whatever contract they get. Shedeur showed up to the facility in an F8 Ferrari, not the standard for now. Let's address the Cleveland media situation directly, because you already know how certain voices in that market are going to respond to this. You can already write the script for the Jason Lloyd segment that's coming. Anonymous sources. Questions about whether Saudi PIF representatives actually watched enough tape. Suggestions that this is more about global branding than football evaluation. The same machinery that ran the film study campaign, the coverage recognition campaign, the character concern campaign. It is going to find an angle on this story that tries to minimize what it means for Shedeur. Count on it. But here's the problem with that approach this time, and it is a significant problem. Every previous anonymous source campaign against Shedeur could be floated without a named countervoice of equal or greater credibility immediately available to Tokalinjit. The Rex Ryan meeting claim got countered by fan video. The film study claim got countered by the iPad footage. The coverage recognition claim got countered by Chase Daniel and Kurt Warner and Bernie Kosar, and every locker room voice willing to go on record. But now the countervoice is the Saudi Public Investment Fund. $700 billion off financial credibility, saying the opposite of everything the anonymous source network has been claiming. And you cannot dismiss $700 billion with a podcast segment and a wink. The scale of this validation has changed the terrain of the conversation permanently, and the people who have been running the anti-Shedeur narrative in Cleveland media are going to have to reckon with that whether they want to or not. Here is what Shedeur Sanders himself represents in this moment. And this is the piece of a story that goes beyond football, beyond Cleveland, beyond even the Saudi PIF confirmation itself. Shedeur Sanders represents something that makes certain power structures in professional sports deeply uncomfortable. He is young. He is talented. He is unbothered by the noise. He is a father whose influence and visibility extend across every conversation about the NFL. And he has a fan base that is organized, attentive, and willing to hold media accountable in real time with actual evidence. That combination, the talent, the platform, the support system, the fan base accountability infrastructure is genuinely unprecedented for a player at this stage of development. And when you add the Saudi PIF publicly confirming his status as the future of the position, you are not just adding a financial endorsement, you are adding a global megaphone to a story that was already too big for the people trying to contain it. Every team that passed on him is now a cautionary tale. Every reporter who ran anonymous source campaigns is now accountable to a counter-narrative backed by $700 billion. Every executive who convinced themselves that the fifth-round position was a legitimate reflection of his value now has to explain that position to ownership groups who are reading the same Saudi PIF statement everyone else is reading. And Shedeur. He has not said a word about any of this publicly.
He does not need to.
He never has. The work speaks. The validation accumulates. The people who doubted him keep having to answer for those doubts as reality systematically dismantles every claim they made. The Saudi PIF just got put on notice. And the notice came in a language every owner, every general manager, and every front office executive understands perfectly. The language of $700 billion saying you missed on the quarterback of the future, and we are not going to let you forget it. Is the Saudi PIF's public confirmation that Shedeur Sanders is the NFL quarterback of the future the single most powerful external validation any young quarterback has received at this stage of their career? And does it permanently change the conversation about what Cleveland owes him in terms of commitment, investment, and the full organizational support he has always deserved? Drop everything you're thinking in the comments right now. I want every single take. And if you want to be first every single time the Shedeur Sanders story reaches a new level that nobody saw coming, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe and stay locked.